You're welcome back. This is Newsfile. It's your most authoritative news analysis show. And here on Newsfile, we put Ghana first. I always forget, somebody says I shouldn't be saying show. I should say more than show. Oh. So he prefers I should say platform and rather than show. Okay, so thank you. So my guests have been Dr. Richmond Echiahini, Banking and Corporate Governance Consultant, Bright Simmons, Honorary Vice President Imani Africa, Asan Anankoma. He's a lawyer. He claims he's poorly paid and overworked. And everybody laughs at that. And I agree with the laughter. Okay, so Kojasanti of the CDD says that Ace is so right. Please, we should publicly demand from Bank of Ghana to name the individual Bank of Ghana staff who have been indicted and sanctioned. It is just fair. Right. So, right. I wanted to wrap up quickly, briefly on how the Bank of Ghana can continue without the effects that we are beginning to learn. Is the reality that is happening. But you have a little point to make before.
No, I'm going to address that directly. You see, what we have in this country today is a culture of intellectual cowardice. And particularly in the financial sector, it's become rampant.
Everywhere.
So the Bank of Ghana comes up with directives, ideas, and the rest of it, and it's supposed to do consultation. You talk to industry people and they go that the consultations are very shallow. It doesn't happen. A few members of the Ghana Bankers Association go and discuss with them. They say there's been consultation. They keep churning this stuff out. You implement, let me give you a few examples to substantiate the point. You implement a Ghana reference rate. And in the design of that rate, you link cash involved increases directly to increases in the rate. In Ghana, we know that cash involved or liquidity reserves very often have operational rather than monetary implications. So this is a matter that has to be very carefully studied and thought through. You need serious theoretical analysis, as well as some empirical analysis and validation of what has happened over time as far as the relation between liquidity, particularly liquidity reserves, and the interest rate is concerned before you do these kind of tests. They go ahead and implement such a thing, design a very cumbersome mechanism for determining the reference rate in such a manner that if you were truly to follow it, then any adjustment in that parameter, which in Ghana is very arbitrary because of its measurement, will lead to an increase in the rate or a decrease in the rate. In a sense, it becomes even more arbitrary than the current monetary policy committee approach. Why is no professor? We have a Ghana Banking College. We have researchers. But it appears as if because people are often scared for their livelihood, no matter what happens, people just keep quiet. And then the few activists like myself and the rest who are bold because, like somebody said the other time, you have little to lose. When you come out, you get accused of entering into areas you shouldn't be entering into. But it's because you have intellectual cowardice. So professionals, experts, so-called specialists and the rest refuse to engage publicly. Right. Then they'll be sending text messages around and sending WhatsApp messages around. Speak up. Another example. You have a situation where it's quite clear from our Act 749, the Financial Intelligence Center Act, that the country foresaw the need to create a specialized investigation unit in the Financial Intelligence Center. Read the Act very carefully. It's not just terrorism and things like that. It says every serious offense, every serious financial offense. Why are we using IOCO for investigations that are clearly of an extremely specialized nature? The kind of white-collar crime that we are speculating about, in some cases, validated by the report, are not the kind that any run-of-the-mill investigator in general crimes can investigate.
I know someone who agrees with you on this one.
So why do you have a Financial Intelligence Center that is not at the forefront of unraveling clear white-collar crime in the financial sector? Another point. We have a situation where we had a premature termination of the official administration because the Bank of Ghana was clear where it wanted to go. But the law is very clear that when you terminate that appointment, within 14 days, it must generate a final report. That final report cannot come with disclaimers because it's by law the liquidator's actions are completely sacrosanct. You cannot say that, I've not done this, and therefore the bank will be collapsed. If you have an official liquidator report, then you make that. Don't forget, in the law, the 930, all these actions are actually the official arbitrator's actions endorsed by the Bank of Ghana.
The report we have now is pursuant to Section 114.
So the earlier,
which says it must do so within 90 days.
Provisional report.
Right.
So you have a provisional report, right? the law says when you terminate the administration, there must be a final report.
Okay.
Secondly, the law is quite clear that the actions that we are seeing today, the assumption, the purchase and assumption, all of these things, the transmission to a bridge bank, are all actions of the official administrator approved by the Bank of Ghana.
Okay.
So when you have made a termination and any termination, the presupposition is still that it was the official administrator who made these recommendations and which you are simply endorsing and approving.
That's so.
We do expect though that there will be a final report within 14 days.
Okay.
Where is that final report?
All right.
Why are we not seeing that final report instead of the leaked provisional report?
Okay.
14 days has long elapsed.
Okay.
Last point. Corporate insolvency restructuring in Ghana is a mess. We all know that the bill has been languishing in, so I don't know whether it's cabinet or parliament now, for months, maybe years.
Yes.
In the United States,
we want to pass the New Companies Act
first. Okay. In the US, you have an institutional receiver, the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation. That therefore allows for residual claimants. Because now you have a situation where all these assets that are being fought over, because the Unibank is saying that some of the assets are actually very valuable. Who is the residual claimant? In essence, you've given, because you give the liabilities and the good assets to the new bank.
Right.
What about the bank, the assets that are going to official administrator? Who is currently not very clear. The receiver, because you've terminated that official administration, so the receiver is purportedly in the Bank of Ghana. I don't understand that part very well, but what is very clear is that the receiver is the residual claimant. Now, my view is that we may need an institutional receiver if these things are going to become a bit recurrent.
Okay.
Because in a situation where you don't have an institutional receiver, and these are ad hoc receivers that are appointed and then they are terminated, we may have a devaluation of assets. So some of these loans that we say we can't recover, they may actually be recoverable, in which case that somebody might have the incentive to go and cut deals with some of these debtors and shortchange the government.
Okay. Right. So, like I mentioned, quickly, if you can give us some 30 seconds of his view on this, how should the Bank of Ghana manage this process, and all of us, what should be our role in ensuring that the banks and the financial institutions that are not complicit in any way do not suffer the effects, because as we speak they are, and I mentioned earlier, some are downsizing, some are completely shutting down, and there's the panic withdrawals that is putting the banks and financial institutions under enormous strain. Yes. Kofi. Yes.
Myself?
Yes.
Sorry, I missed the question. I was right. you said what?
I was asking what should be done to avoid the effects on the economy.
The systemic effects on the economy. I mean, we have a situation where, as you rightly pointed out, in Unibank, maybe 10 people, because there's a shareholder advances at one point was 5-something billion, with about 3.7 billion still at issue. That's more than the entire asset base of all rural banks in Ghana. And we have about 10 people who, for some reason, receive these advances. The beneficial ownership regime in this country today actually makes most of that illegal. Absolutely. Because you cannot give preferential treatment in the same extent, to the same extent that we've now cataloged in the sector.
Okay.
So some of them there's some of the steps that obviously have to be taken. Purely as an analyst, speaking from a multidisciplinary perspective, combining all these views, is first of all, the asset monitoring regime should not be episodic. Because we can't have a situation where 2006 you do an asset quality review, 2016 you do an asset quality review, and does not suggest immediate liquidation of banks. And then it turns out in 2018 that the non-performing loans were heavily underdeclared. To the extent where one bank had 89%. And in 2015, 2016, we're talking about something around 16%. All that obviously happened was that there were reviews that brought to light new evidence. But my argument is that how can we have a truly effective system if, except in the situations where the bank is already exerting some degree of pressure, then voluntary reporting is not. Exactly.
Wow.
All right. You can move from 16% to 89% in a year.
Okay. Dr. Suahin.
I think what has brought about this importantly is information asymmetry between the investment public.
Job losses, people's investment, depositors.
The first thing I want to talk about,
depositors find
because there is information asymmetry between the investing public and the other stakeholders. There has been a lot of speculation and a lot of information filtering around. But if you believe that you are very clear about transparency and disclosure, somebody somewhere, like people are publishing for other banks. You see what they did. It's just to wipe out the confidence. But I believe that a time has come.
What do you mean by what they did?
Oh, so publishing graphic on Friday.
Okay, about the banks that said.
I mean, that is to put fears and allay fears from the people.
Right.
But if you keep quiet.
But that's necessary.
Very important. That's why I'm saying that information asymmetry needs to be addressed.
Okay.
And the regulator has also a responsibility. You see, I always say this, when it is monetary policy rate, they gather people and talk about it. And I believe this crisis, there should be a forum and to tell us where we are, where we have been, and what we are doing, so that it creates a lot of confidence in the system. Because seriously, people are dying, not that they are losing job. I know 2 people who have died since this thing.
And we need the final report.
Yes, so that people see, once you talk about it and take some fear from people, the confidence can come. But the way it is, we hear, and one is, the thing is that it is going to happen. So somebody should take responsibility and tell us the stage we are. Like Professor Lamido Sazuni said, he did a paper and said, what has gone wrong? What has gone wrong? What are we doing? Where are we going? At least it grieves the whole world that we are on top of the issue. But once nobody speaks about it, this information asymmetry is very dangerous because everybody wants to make an opinion.
Okay.
That's why it's good use your program is telling them it's going to bring confidence that after all, people know what is happening. The Bank of Ghana is doing what it takes to enhance the confidence. So I put the responsibility of addressing it. Somebody somewhere should tell us where we are and where we are going and how far we have gone. Maybe, as somebody said, are we going to have another bank? No, but now it's all rumors. So that is where I said they have done a lot of directives and coming in, and nobody even talk about directives. All that you hear that some corporate governance directives have been given. No, we need to tell the people that this.
The finance minister has said that ADB and Unibank, for example, will merge at all costs.
You'll be very surprised. You'll be very surprised.
ADB and NIB. Sorry, ADB and NIB will merge. It helps the customers to have some faith that nothing is going to happen. At least these also belong to
let me cut it short.
A greater stake.
Osejesi on TV3 just about last week said that they are going to recapitalize NIB and they are also going to recapitalize a separate entity. Quote me. He said it. I listened to him. Then we have the finance minister coming that we are looking at measures of the 2 institutions. You see, it creates an information asymmetry.
So you listen to the finance minister?
Well,
and he spoke last. It is his job, and he said at the DI event that they will be merged.
Policy prescriptions. I mean, whether the banks will merge or not is a matter for their boards of directors and eventual approval by the Bank of Ghana.
But if they're majority owned by the government,
exactly. That's why he's able to speak.
The government is the beneficiary
with that emphatically. Okay, so it's what do we do? The banks, some of them, I mean, to be frank with you, some of them, I mean, speak to us privately and they tell you about the difficulties and how they even want those of us who lead these discussions to find a way of toning down in a way that does not seem to influence the panic in the system. There's already panic. People are there asking for their money. And like Bryce said earlier, if everybody comes to them and say, give me my money, they are in trouble. And that's what is happening to them.
Yes, absolutely. I think that that is why the narrative should be shaped from a body of knowledge, which now is the Bank of Ghana. I suspect that there's a final report. What they've not done is they made it public. And if you watch the hand as it moves, the gentleman who signed the disclaimer in the Unibank report is the liquidator of all the 5.
Yeah.
So don't that disclaimer. It was an assurance test. That's your obvious. It was assurance. It wasn't an audit. So it definitely must have those caveats.
But the law doesn't say you require an audit.
Yeah, no, they don't require that. Really. In fact, you can't wait for an audit. You can have a hearing. Oh, explain this to me. They look at the books and the bank is down. Period. Because it's money they're dealing with here. The right of hearing barracks collapsed by one person. Is it Adoboli's problems in the UK? They didn't wait and give anybody a hearing. They sent him straight to court. So those are some of the things. But I think that for the indicators, as I heard yesterday night, is that there's a bit of the panic appears to be toning down.
Right.
And I think that the toning down of the panic is as a direct result, really, of some of the information coming out. And I think that the Bank of Ghana can take more assurance steps by revealing these things, saying this is where we are.
It's to show control of the situation.
Yeah, but it's showing it a bit, but I think that the public relations aspect of it probably needs to be beefed up, and we need to hear a little bit more from Governor Addison.
And also official statements as opposed to leaks all over the place.
Yeah, it's as opposed to the leaks. I mean, these are leaks. So you have a certain stage of the report, but these are leaks. I think that once the leak has happened, unfortunately, then one needs a statement, an official statement. I think that maybe we should see a little bit more of Governor Addison in these times. And who knows, probably even the president and the vice president, assuring Ghanaians that we are going to do everything to protect your deposits. We'll find the money to protect you. You have done nothing wrong. And the issue about staff, I'm not too sure about. I'm not sure that the government should use my tax money to pay a member of staff who's lost his job. We all it's pathetic. We all lose jobs from time to time. So I'm not sure that we can go there. But apart from that, I think that's my final comment on this. We need to hear maybe a little bit more, see a little bit more of Governor Addison. But as I said at the program, for me, he's done a slam dunk. He's done what a lot of his predecessors didn't have the I almost said what I didn't say. Didn't have the spine to do.
Okay. All right, so we have very little time to attempt our very final issue, which was tabled for discussion last week, but we were unable to treat it. So we want to see if we can briefly look at it and move forward. But Dr. Theo Echampong says that this is very enlightening, and I'm enjoying you guys. It appears we certainly need more training on tax law, corporate governance, and macroprudential regulation. Thank you, Dr. Theo Echampong. I've got loads of your messages. I just want to try and see if I can share just one or two more, because it's only fair, isn't it? Then I'll take just a couple of minutes each from my guest on the very final issue. Now, Kofi Kese says that I now get the argument. The Republic is using 1960 criminal jurisprudence to fight 2018 white-collar crimes, hence the delay and laxity in prosecution. My question is, with all the legal minds the Republic has, can't we update, review the 1960 criminal jurisprudence to a current state? Well, there have been a bit of reviews from time to time, so that's a suggestion. Michael Lante says that from the submissions given by your panel, the only question running through my mind now is who is watching the watchman? BoG, the Bank of Ghana, must sit up and remove the speck from their own eyes before others. And Michael is sending this from Japan. Yao Ohene says, if a criminal trial is difficult to prove, why not go for civil case to retrieve our money? The Bank of Ghana issued a statement last week assuring that it was considering all options, including civil processes, to retrieve monies where it will be able to make some retrievals. Now, there's this issue also. You know, the matters regarding Menzgold came up along these issues, and there was a banter between Menzgold, the lawyers, and the Bank of Ghana, and so on and so forth. And here on this show, its lawyer, Kwame Akufu, eventually now agreed that they were going to use a posture that was more conciliatory, and therefore they were going to be seeing the Bank of Ghana and the regulators to resolve the matter. You had the owner of Menzgold issue a statement going back and apologizing. Right. So start with Bright. What are your comments briefly about how to deal with that issue also, so that we don't create unnecessary panic and we don't end up where the banks have ended up?
So, I mean, it's always sensible not to look at things only in their particular, you know. So you don't look at things only in their particulars. You say, okay, it's Menzgold, so it's Menzgold. You have to look at how it's situated in the policy framework, how it's situated in the enforcement framework of regulators. Okay. So I'm not only looking at Menzgold, I'm looking at any other company which could be in such a situation. Okay. And here, the principle at stake is very simple. How do you allow innovation to flourish while at the same time preventing systemic risk from building up in the financial sector? Absolutely. So we need people that come up with new interesting products and services. Men's Bank has positioned itself as doing that. The problem is that a lot of people, and some of them are very respected people, who know a lot more about this situation, suggest otherwise. So what is at stake here? Very simple. First and foremost, I feel that regardless of how Men's Bank describes its business model, it ends up falling within some regulatory domain or the other. The best I have understood them to be saying, the most comprehensive take on their business model that I have received so far is that they help people buy gold, and the people lend the gold back to them. They trade with the gold, get some profit, and share it with the people.
Every month.
Good. So in essence, that's what they are trying to say. They don't buy gold from the general public, but they enable the general public to buy gold from registered dealers, and then they borrow the gold.
Meanwhile, the license they have is to buy and export.
Yes, but so long as they are not buying from individuals, but rather they are borrowing from individuals and facilitating individuals' purchase of gold from licensed miners or whatever it is, then reportedly they are within the law. But that's what's interesting. What's interesting is that that's a financial advisory job. So you are advising them in terms of how to maximize the value of their gold.
Investment advice.
It's investment advisory. And investment advisory is a regulated industry.
It's a regulated industry.
It's the SEC. What is interesting, and Ace has already alluded to it though, is the fact that the Bank of Ghana believes that the actions that they are taking represent deposit taking.
Right.
The question is whether if the regulator believes that, then automatically you fall within the regulator's domain. That's why I'm not clear. Perhaps you will explain. But I think it's a very straightforward issue. Every financial institution that is serious will tout its licensing credentials. In fact, you go to any serious regulated by it's surprising that in this case, Menzgold rather appears disinterested in pursuing licensing. It has a situation where PMC says we don't want to do business with them anymore. How is Menzgold able to certify that the gold that it is dealing in is actually real gold? Because they don't have a laboratory. They are not licensed as a laboratory to certify gold. So somehow or the other, they need PMC or some other license authority to say that the gold that is being dealt with here is not aluminium that you painted yellow.
Okay.
You see what I mean?
But it
So
is
we
fair
need
to
at
say
least some
that
regulatory
it is
action.
fair to say that they were disinterested earlier,
Okay.
but not now.
Okay.
Because the last interview we had with their lawyer,
They
he
are
said,
willing to-
we will now make the approach and find out where we fall. If we straddle between one or two, we are willing to submit.
No, you can be regulated by multiple regulators.
Right.
That's not saying that you have to fall straddling between. If there are two regulators that oversee what you do, you register with both of them.
Okay. Yes. So
I
Dr.
think
Shahin,
from Men's Gold position, what I saw is that emerging issues without regulation.
Okay.
And that is why I have said this morning that we need to take a holistic view of our regulation. What you could say that there were derivatives, gold derivatives. But unfortunately, that is an area where people will say, who regulates it? So because of these emerging issues, a time has come for us to look at it so that people don't have what we call regulatory arbitrages. Once there is a regulatory arbitrages, they would one day turn into real thing. So I'm very happy that now they're going to Georgia and see where they will probably regulate it.
Right.
Because initially I was here when he was screaming at us and even some of us were being called names. I left here and I had a lot of insult from people. That's what am I trying to do? But I'm saying that I'm not worried about you insulting me. Like he said, intellectual bankruptcy. Is it that what you said?
I said intellectual cowardice.
In this country, it's very common. It's very common. So it is good that we are now all beginning to understand that there is a need for us to look at our regulations so that things do not filter through and crash and affect the financial stability.
Okay.
So that is what I will say.
Right. Samuel Brian Boabing says that why must we collapse a company that exports over 60 million worth of gold every year, according to PMMC? Is that your thinking that the attitude is collapse a company?
Look, I'm not worried about.
Is this a call for regulation or collapsing?
If you're buying and selling, and if PMMC regulates you, then do your job. But going outside it, so buying gold and keeping it there and taking interest from here and there, that is where the problem is. Nobody, I don't think the people will take the license.
Okay.
Like he said, if you're doing gold, there's what we call assay. Assaying, assaying. You need to assay the gold from inspection company like Societe Generale, those people. And you also go to PMC, they have assay. But who assays it? If it's buying gold, then it must be able to do the job. Rather than taking advantage of, say, there's some derivatives where it's not being controlled.
Okay.
There's not enough
Thank
time
you
to
very
deal
much.
with
I've got a friend who sends a message. He says, Samson, as the director and majority shareholder of my company, and I know the company, he says, I'm honoring all your 3 panelists as board members and you, and you as counsel. I am not taking a no for an answer. Thanks for the education. Right. I got a few friends who were not happy that I was not enthused with their invitation to be on their board.
Maybe today they will understand.
And thank you for the education you also gave across. Yeah. Okay. So Ace.
Samson, there's not enough time to deal with this. So even the legal side of it. Quickly, I think the Bank of Ghana says that should direct more traffic towards its website. Apparently, the financial state of Ghana is posted on the BoG website and updated regularly. So I think that all of us who do these things should begin to monitor that website. And look. Menzgold. 4 laws. As I said, I'm overworked and underpaid. You started with the Companies Act. A private company cannot invite the public to deposit monies. Period. It is so critical that it must be stated under Section 9 in your regulations if you're a private company. So if you are not a public company, you cannot invite the public to bring deposits to you, period. The exemption, as you said, quasi-public, is if you get a banking or specialized deposit taking license. So if what you're doing, whichever hoo-ha you have used to disguise it, if you read and what you are doing is actually deposit taking, that is a fact. Let's get into the fact. It started as Men's Bank with a K. Bank of Ghana stepped in. They changed their name to Men's Bank with a C. Bank of Ghana stepped in. They changed their name to Menzgold with metal. Let's stop mollycoddling these issues. We can see the thing. If it walks like a duck, quacks like a duck, sleeps like a duck, it's a duck. Okay, so under the Companies Act alone, as a private company, you cannot take deposits, whether interest bearing or fixed. The law says that clearly. Let's move on. Under the Minerals and Mining Act, you cannot deal in, let's say, gold, except you have a license. It's an offense. You will go to jail. And if you get a license, you cannot operate outside the license. So if you get a license as recently as 2016, which was after they had started as K and became C, and just before they became gold. All right? You get a license in 2016, which is clear. You are supposed to acquire gold from small-scale miners for export. That license cannot, that is clause 1 of the license, cannot transmogrify into the deal we are doing right now. One would ask a question. Maybe Occupy, the same notorious Occupy Ghana, started making noise that all these small-scale mining licenses have not been to Parliament. They are illegal.
Right.
As a result, or after that, they were banned. Where have they been buying the gold from? In the past year? Because the law says they can only buy from small-scale miners. Small-scale mining has been banned. So which gold are we arbitraging or selling or sending anywhere? And is it export that you set up a sister company? Hello, lifting the veil. You go there, you don't see any gold, you are given a token, you come here and give it to us and we trade. Tell me, Bright, look, Bright, his first degree is astrophysics. You know that. Bright, tell me, where in the world do you trade gold and pay 7% a month? You sell the gold, finish. Which other trading? That is why you need regulation. So you explain your business model to the regulators, and then they regulate you. So under the Minerals and Mining Act, and I know that in December last year, the Minerals Commission wrote to them that what you are doing is a breach of your license. And so let's stop joking around with this. 3, the Securities Industry Act. It defines securities to include derivatives. It defines derivatives as when you are using commodities. If anybody says that the commodities market in Ghana is unregulated, with due respect, I understand. Nobody mentions derivatives to us in the law school. But with due respect, the law provides for it. This is a crudely formed derivative. I know you want to end. Last one. If you read it of all of these and see that it is not actually gold that is being traded, it is simply deposit taking, then it's not only the Companies Act, but the banks and special deposit taking instruments. So all of these agencies, the Securities Exchange Commission, if this is the derivative, the Bank of Ghana, if it's deposit taking, the Minerals and Mining, the Minerals Commission, if it's just a metals trading, it's an intersectoral regulation. He has to go and sit down with them. Then they might find out that maybe this is really
right. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. My guests have been Bright Simmons, Honorary Vice President, Imani Africa, member of the study group of the Center for Global Development in Washington, D.C., and a member of the Africa Strategy Group of the World Economic Forum in Geneva. Ace Ankuma is a lawyer, and Dr. Richmond Echiahene is banking and corporate governance consultant. He's taught in this area for quite a long while until he retired. And unlike many of the Bank of Ghana operators, when he retired, he doesn't want to set up a bank or set up a microfinance
and then become a consultant.
All right. Thank you very much. Have a good afternoon. I'm Samson Ladia, and my outfit, as always, is by Latida Sport.